Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I shown register number URK20CS3026. I'm going to explain to you experiment number 8 of computer networks. So today we will be doing virtual LANs, configuring them so that we can do inter VLAN and inter VLAN communication. So let me make the topology and meet you in a sec. So this is the topology for VLANs that I have created. So this is just a single LAN network, and in this we want to create two VLAN. So for the two VLANs I have given 10.0.0.0 as one address, 20.0.0 as another address, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 as the two names of the VLANs. So let's configure the switch in which we will be making two VLANs. First enable the switch, configure the terminal, and after that we will be calling VLAN 10 and then name 1, we can give it as VLAN name 1, and then VLAN 20, and we can give name as 2, and then we can exit from this prompt. We can again exit from the configuration prompt, and now we can see the VLANs by show VLAN command. So as you can see, these are the VLANs, and we also have few other things. We can also see a brief of it by using the command show VLAN brief. So it just shows the brief, and after that we can also configure these VLANs, like put in whichever interfaces have to be in which VLAN. So first we can initialize the interface, like initialize over here. The switch has the first interface F0 by 1, that is PC1. I have assigned the IP addresses based on the I have assigned the different PCs the IP addresses based on the network addressing scheme that I have used, that is 10.0.0 for this VLAN and 20.0.0 for that VLAN. So based on that I have given the IP addresses, and here we can initialize F0 by 1. Okay, first we need to enable the switch, and then we can give config T, and after that we can initialize 0 by 1 interface, and in that let's give switch port mode access, and in that let's give switch port access VLAN 10, and after that we can do similarly for the other interfaces, that is 0 by 2, and in this we can initialize access to VLAN 10 because we want it in the same VLAN network. So 0 by 1 and 0 by 2 both we want in the same VLAN network, so we can give this. Then we can initialize F0 by 3, and in this we can give the command to access VLAN 20, and then we can initialize F0 by 4, and then in this we can give the command switch port access VLAN 20. So basically now we have got the two VLAN setup, like in that we have configured these two PCs. So what basically we can do right now is, since this is formed a virtual LAN, this is formed a virtual LAN, we can directly send packets between these successful, and then similarly between this also it will be successful. But when we try to send it over, like from one VLAN to another, it says failed because this switch, though it is having a physical LAN, now we have configured it into two different VLANs. So now if you want to make these like communicate with each other, we can add a router to route the different signals. So we can add a basic router over here, and we can give a connection to like from the switch to the router. So let's give a connection. So I have given two connections between the router and the switch. Now we can basically in the router we can set up in CLI like the two different interfaces that we have connected. One we can set it for VLAN 10, another one for VLAN 20. So let's set it up. Enable the router, config T, and in that we can set it up as interface. The interface of the router is F0 by 0. So initially F0 by 0, initialize F0 by 0. In this we can give IP address, the default gateway of the first one, that is 10.0.0.1, and then the subnet mask. After that we can give no shutdown, and similarly we can give it for the second one too, F1 by 0. So we can give this command, and we can give the IP address 20.0.0.1, that is the default gateway for the second VLAN, and then we can give no shutdown. So once we are given this, now both are up. Let's set up the interfaces of the router in the VLAN 2. So let's use the command initialize gigabit 0 by 1. In that 0 by 1 is connected to F0 by 0. So in that, let's use the command as switch port mode access. After that, we can give the command switch port access VLAN 10. So basically it will access VLAN 10, and then we can do the similar for initialize gigabit port 0 by 2, and in this we will be able to do the same. Switch port VLAN access VLAN 20. So now it's a part of VLAN 20. Now we can try sending a packet from one VLAN to another. It is successful. As you can see, they're all successful. Okay, one failed. Let's try once more. As you can see, it gets successful itself. And now let's try a router on a stick configuration. That is, let's remove one of these cables. Go and remove this one, and now let's restart the router. So let's do that. So now I have restarted the router. So for a router on a stick configuration, let's configure. So let's enable the router, then let's go to configuration of terminal, and in that let's initialize F0 by 0 and give no shutdown, and after that let's give it as initialize F0 by 0 dot 10. In this let's use encapsulation to like split the connection, two different connections through the same one stick connection. To give it, we use encapsulation dot 1q, and then we can give it as 10. That is 1, and then we can give the IP address 10.0.0.1, and then 255.0.0.0, and then we can give no shutdown. And similarly we can give it for second connection, and the IP address we can give the default IP address as 20.0.0.1, and then no shutdown. So once we give this, now we can set up trunk mode in the switch. So let's go to CLI of the switch and let's set up trunk mode. So let's enable first, and then let's go to configuration of the terminal, and in that let's give initialize the port of this to which it is connected, gigabit 0 by 0 G 0 by 1, and in this let's give it as switch port mode trunk, switch port mode trunk, and then in that let's give it as switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10,20. Through this, now both the routers will use trunk protocol to communicate between, like, encapsulation on the router, so that they both can communicate through the single line alone. Similarly, let's do it for the interface F0 by 0 dot 20 in the router. I forgot this, and in this let's give the initialization of the second one. So IP address, okay, it's already configured, so let me configure this and I'll meet you in a second. Okay, so now let's try sending a packet from one VLAN to another. As you can see, we get successful. Hence all our three configurations. The first one we had done was intra-LAN VLAN communication, that is, in one LAN we had done with two different PCs in one VLAN, and on another VLAN we put another two PCs, but they were in a single physical LAN. Then we connected those through two VLANs using a router, and then using two different connections, and later we did a router on a stick configuration, that is this one, and all three were successful. So hope you like this video. If you did, do give it a like and do subscribe to my channel for more such interesting videos, and see you guys in the next.